Good morning, Lincoln, Nebraska. Happy Monday. Welcome to the morning hookup. Bill Hooks, YZ, Dr. Dane Todd in the house. Hope your Monday's off to a great start. I know it's not pretty outside, but much needed rain over the weekend.
Very nice.
Very nice. Things are going to start looking a lot more greener outside in the next week because the weather does look really nice this week.
Yeah. It was already starting to look kind of nice, and this will just improve that more.
Yeah. Hi, YZ. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Doing okay?
Oh, it's my contact. It's absolutely killing me.
Man, you imagine there are some of us out here just seeing for free. Like I wake up in the morning and open up my eyes, and everything's in focus.
You said see for free.
Yeah, just out here seeing for free.
Oh, how I envy you.
Wow. Wow. Doc coming out hot and fast this morning.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna meet some readers soon, but that's okay.
They're coming. Don't you worry.
I was reading a book last night. I was like, "Why do my arms feel so weird?"
Boy, you were reeking of effort last night.
I know.
Reading books.
I was just tired, and the kids were playing really well last night outside. You know,
That's so real. You're like, if you have kids, multiple kids,
yeah,
and you say, like, you look around and go, you can't say anything.
No.
As soon as you say something, it's over. They realize that they're getting along.
Yeah. It's without a question.
Right?
Both my wife and I were hiding in like opposite corners of the
house. Don't
like,
move.
Both of us with books, just like
Don't
keeping our
move.
fingers crossed that it would continue happening.
Yeah, my wife always calls it don't romanticize things. She goes, "You're gonna don't do it." I won't even compliment them. I'm like, well, that was the night that we got left alone.
Nope, you can't say anything. You just let it happen.
I was telling you last night is at our house. I mean, look, older kids, I guess 19, 15, 11. And our 19-year-old's there. She just comes home. She just goes, whatever. Does what she does, college kid. The other two boys, like last night, were just doing their own thing. And like 8:45, like, we're going to go to bed.
Oh, wow.
That means it was a good weekend, though.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It means it was a busy weekend.
I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But a lot to get to today. We're going to talk Husker baseball for sure, a winning weekend there. We'll talk a little NFL, kind of look at your favorite teams, how they did in the second and third and on. Talk about Emmett Johnson. He got drafted. We'll talk about that. NBA, NHL playoffs are rolling right along. Evan Blam on my World Herald coming up in hour number 2. Also, 9 o'clock keyword is trip. This is the last week of keywords, by the way. Chance to win $1,000 from Liberty First Credit Union. TRIP, TRIP. Text that word to 402-258-2800. I got to ask the question. Concert Saturday night.
I did not go.
We made it through it. We lived out the delays. Phenomenal. It was a great concert once it got going. I know a lot of people have kind of poo-pooed on the way it went down, the process, all that. I keep telling my kids about you're going to if you were there and you lived it out, it is going to be one of the greatest memories that you're going to have. I kind of started thinking, what is the greatest memory I've had at Memorial Stadium? Kind of led me back to that, because I've been to a lot of games. You played in a lot of games at Memorial Stadium. And I tried to relate, like, first of all, the concert was good once you got going. It wasn't easy to get into. Okay, Memorial Stadium. Nebraska will figure that out. Okay, it's only this third major event there. Garth Brooks, Volleyball Day, Zach Bryan, right? Third major concert / bigger event. Wasn't easy to get in. Process will play its way out. But like the whole memories of I got to hang out. Like, again, we were under an overhang for 3 hours because of the wind and the rain, and they were telling you to take shelter. But once you got in there, it was awesome. The music was great. Then at the end, it started raining, and he's up there just playing. I mean, these are great memories.
Yeah,
out there.
That's the sentiment I've heard from pretty much everybody, is they didn't care about the delay and having to wait in line, because when you finally did get to the concert, it was awesome. Like, awesome.
There's a lot of people that are like upset. I'm waiting. I get it. And it was hard the communication piece was different, because you had to be on social media to find out, or on Zach Bryan's Instagram page. A lot of outlets were telling you, hey, it's delayed. Then doors are open. Then it was rocking, right?
I heard they let people go into the Hawks
Center. They did. Oh, and that's the other cool thing. Like, then they had, I believe, Hawks open. I want to say maybe PBA and maybe the Coliseum maybe open. I know there were a lot of places they got open from a safety perspective for all the fans, because there was potential hail and all that.
Yeah.
So, but again, you have like I think back on like Zach Bryan concert. Then I go back to like, all right, what was the other great memory I had being in Memorial Stadium? I remember one of the best atmospheres there ever for me was Miami in town. That football game was amazing.
Was big. That was a long time ago too.
Long time ago. Or being in there when Alex Henry bomb field goal against Colorado. Like it just brought back, like, do you have one playing in Memorial Stadium? You're like, man, what this memory is. I'll never forget playing in that game or that play.
Yeah, for sure. It was when we played Texas my senior year.
I knew you were going to bring that
but
up.
It was
fourth quarter. That might be one of the greatest football games ever played in Memorial Stadium.
It was incredible. It was an awesome game, but it's not even like I can still see Terrence Nunn fumbling the football because I was right there. But
that was a great play call.
Oh, incredible play call. But it was actually the play where Brandon Jackson broke 3 tackles on a broken screen play and then ran up the sideline for like a 40-yard touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
And I came back and blocked 2 guys to spring him loose, right? Like I still remember doing that, and and I can still see that entire play developing, and I can remember Randy Jordan getting on me the next day in film about why I was where I was on the field, because that's not where I was supposed to be. I was like, dude, Brandon wasn't where he was supposed to be. Like
we were all in the wrong but right places.
Yeah, like I can't be in the right spot when he's 20 yards to the side. I don't know what happens. So yeah, but that was probably the one that I remember the most. And I can also remember my very first play against Utah State. I can still remember that very well, but otherwise that CTE is strong, and I struggle sometimes.
Yeah, super cool. Do you have one? I know it's probably a little shorter lived memory, but I'm sure but I think that's the mantra of what I took away from the concert was like, what's the memory of being? Some people might think that's the greatest memory they've ever had in Memorial Stadium.
I'll always remember my first Husker game, Nebraska versus Ball State. The final score was 41-40. And I vividly remember Marlon Lucky diving into the corner of the end zone. That's probably the one moment I'll never forget. Most electric moment was the Tommy Hill pick 6 against Colorado.
Whew, that was fire.
A
couple years ago.
Yeah, that was loud. I was thinking about that game too.
That's the loudest I've ever heard it.
That's as loud as I've had covering games in the stadium for sure.
Yeah, but I just thought through that because it was a tough process on Saturday. It was a long day, a long night for a lot of people, and some people probably didn't make it in because they had little kids or you had to get to bed, whatever. But I just thought, man, but I think that in life, if you could take a step back and go, how cool was this? And who you were with, what you were doing. And I got a chance to live it out and see it because there's some really cool pictures once he started playing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where was it ideal? No. Right. But for those who ended up persevering and hanging in there, they got a great experience out of it. Right. Now you get one more strike of lightning there at any point.
Oh yeah.
And you're sitting there and the whole thing gets canceled, and then everybody's sitting around going, well, this is why we don't do concerts in the stadium.
Yeah.
Right. But
I think a lot more people are trying to poo-poo on that part versus seeing how cool it was. My wife took this picture, which I thought was one of the coolest things. Look at that. Like,
oh, that's really sweet.
I can show this. It's really cool if you can get the gist of like the red board and like that's the clouds. It was just so cool. The next morning, I would say morning, but a couple of my kids got up in the afternoon. We're just talking about the memory of like he played that revival at the end because he did have to skip 6 songs because there was a second wave of storms coming through. But he got to that point. He's like, they just talked about how cool it was that there were some lightning above. It's raining, and about they just how much fun they had. You know?
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's something to think about in sports. Like you think back, and that's why I thought about, man, what about Memorial Day? Like think back now, and hopefully a lot of people have done that. Go, what was the other cool moment that I had a chance to be in Memorial Stadium? Besides thinking how they could do it better.
Right. And let's be real, like you can always do it better, right? It's not like this is what the 3rd major event that they've held at the stadium, right?
Now, I believe this too, that and again, I think this will go into the conversation about Big Red rebuild, the remodel and rebuild of Memorial Stadium.
Right. Because you want to keep
those future thought.
Right. You want to keep those facilities filled, right? Sitting there with an empty facility is not great. I'm going to use the gymnastics facility as an example, right? That got built. It's awesome. It's incredible. And Trev Alberts was the AD there, and one of the local gymnastics clubs, who's run by actually the gymnastics coach, rents and uses that facility. And in his discussions with Trev Alberts about continuing to do it, Trev said, we want our facilities used all the time. And so the more often they're used, the better it is for everybody. So there's no point in having something sit there empty doing nothing, right? I mean, you run a business, you don't want to have it sitting there empty doing nothing. And so the stadium's just a massive, and it takes a lot more effort, and you got to get big name acts there. You don't want to open it up for something where 5,000 people are going to show up.
I mean, there is a stadium about an hour from here that just sits idle a lot. And it only hosts one big event a year. It's College World Series.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Put that in perspective of all the costs and associated go. I don't think they do anything else. Maybe I missed. Maybe I
could have swore that one of the teams plays there.
Creighton plays there.
Creighton plays
Yeah,
there.
but who goes?
Yeah, nobody goes to that. Right? Exactly.
I think the last Sunday game at Haymarket Park probably beat their attendance for the year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We probably put more in softball this past weekend than they did all year.
Right.
But you talk about facilities, and I think looking at Big Red rebuild, obviously we know that's past now, that they'll have future thoughts when they do that to be more conducive and effective and efficient with bigger events like this. I mean, I'm right now, like them. I sat in there thinking about Big Red rebuild when I got in there and we were on the east side. I don't get on the east side very much, usually southwest more than anything. But I'm thinking, boy, if the next time they have a concert here, most like whatever, there's gonna be a nice seat here. There's gonna be a cup holder, all the stuff that makes it more fan friendly.
There's gonna be better access to get into the building,
because that was one of the things. It's like, boy, and again, not just Saturday. Football has access problems on game days.
Absolutely.
Right.
They have access on game days.
Well, think about it this summer too, right? Banana Ball is going to be played there.
Yeah.
Right. This summer.
It's going to be.
I don't even. Everybody who listens to this show regularly knows I'm not the biggest baseball guy ever.
No.
Don't ask me for tips on your baseball.
You can't tiptoe quiet either.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice try.
Elijah's trying to tiptoe quiet. He doesn't have that ability.
The floor's squeaking and it's concrete. It's impressive. Yeah, but think about that, right? Like I'm going to Banana Ball.
Yes.
Right.
It's bringing you there.
You hold cool events, places, and a ton of people are going to show up, which just means more revenue, not just for the university, right? But all those bars and restaurants downtown and hotels and everything else. Like,
well, which led me to, I want to ask him, like, I'm doing good today.
Which
led me to believe or talk to you about as you've been through evolutions of a Big Red rebuild at Memorial Stadium, as you used to talk about the North locker room.
Oh man.
But you can attest to where you were in the North locker room to what you get to see now and what it's like from the player advantage or player perspective.
Oh, it's incredible, right? When we had separate locker rooms where the freshmen and the guys who were just on scout team had this secondary locker room that was 50 years old with one working shower head. And
you went to the bathroom with no doors.
Yeah, no doors on the bathroom stalls, right? Incredible. Hanging out with Frank Solich while you're doing your business. It's unreal, right? And when they were doing that, then everything got tight and confined, and it was a little bit inconvenient where we're sitting there with the whole team in one locker room and this little secondary offshoot. And when visiting teams would come in, they've got this other secondary little locker room. It was the nightmare. But then once they opened the original North Stadium project there, all of a sudden it was really nice. And then went through some, shuffling around again when they redid the locker room situation just recently and the build out. And was it inconvenient? Sure. Is it great now? Yes. Right. Sometimes you have to go through some pain to get to, progress.
That's a life lesson right there.
Yes,
Yeah,
we've
it
been
is.
talking about.
Well, I walked into Banana Ball.
Well,
I may have
yeah.
walked into the wrong conversation.
The
here.
conversation was, I did good this morning with my thought process. Talking Zach Bryan concert that led us into talking about memorable times being in Memorial Stadium. A lot of people might go. I started thinking that as I was sitting there, two things I was thinking about, man, what a memorable experience that I had and my kids had. What's the other most memorable times you've ever been in Memorial Stadium? That might be some people's most memorable time they've ever been in there, but also sitting there thinking about Big Red Rebuild and the efficiencies that can come out of that for bigger events. For instance, getting into that place on Saturday night was a disaster, but it's also a disaster on football Saturdays too. Maybe some upgrades to that, or sitting on the bench on Saturday thinking, man, what about being in a chair with a cup holder? Make it in a fan-friendly atmosphere, which led us into when he was in the North Stadium back in his day. They had an old dingy locker room, blah, blah. They weren't all together. There weren't enough lockers.
We don't have lockers.
This is a slight aside, but traffic flow into downtown could be improved a lot.
How are you going to do that?
I don't know. There's people that make a lot more money than me, I'm sure, that could get on this.
Can you talk to him about out front too? We're not going there. Sorry.
But no, I was driving home from umpiring on Saturday afternoon, and I kind of forgot that there was a massive concert that was going to fill up the stadium. And I'm going down 10th Street heading north, and I get to about like the Hall of Justice, and I go, I have made a grave mistake.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake right there.
Yeah,
That's when you go to Apple Maps and try to map it quick this way.
I cut through downtown to get to 17th Street, and it was better. But the amount of out-of-state license plates you saw on Saturday,
there were a lot.
I mean, I saw Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Kansas, Missouri.
And that's the great thing about having those events and local economy, bringing those people from around. Because, and again, they're not dumb, right? Zach Bryan's group isn't dumb. Neither is the University of Nebraska bringing those, or wherever they're at. Like, because my kids are like, you think he'll come back? No, because now what he'll do is go to Kansas City, or he'll be in Denver. He'll make you drive to him to get to there.
I will say, he was on, I'm not sure if you guys saw his Twitter responses to some people that were like, will there be any partial refunds? His answer was essentially no. I'm surprised. Like, I'm sure there's a good number of people in that stadium that cared more about Kings of Leon than Zach Bryan.
Oh,
They
yeah.
didn't get to see that.
I'm
sure there were people there that didn't want to sit in a stadium or outside a stadium or in their car for 3 hours waiting for the doors to open only to see a 10-song performance.
Or underneath an overhang at Hamilton Hall for 3 hours.
Yeah, like, this was memorable is one way to put it, but there were people paid a premium for this concert, and I'm not sure they got a premium experience for it. Zach Bryan's, I don't think any of that money is going to be leaving his pocket, but it's another reason to not come back. Is
one could also,
there's probably going to be some people that are pretty upset by that concert experience. Some people I'm sure really appreciated it and enjoyed it and got an extra memorable experience out of it, but I'm sure there's some people that went home late on Saturday night and said, that was a waste of money.
Well, let's be honest. You're going to a concert at an outdoor venue
in April,
right? You've got to know when you bought those tickets that you're rolling the dice a little bit. That's all there is to it. I don't feel like
are you talking about the concert or Nebraska football?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna just say yes, right?
We start offering partial refunds if the team decides to not show up on a football Saturday.
Right.
I'm gonna get 5 refunds.
Did anybody get their tickets refunded when the game got when Frost's first game got canceled?
No.
Right? Like, that's how it is. You're
at
the mercy of the weather.
We're in line with some people that just disappear, going, I can't do it anymore. No, and they all went, I know we got tickets, but it ain't worth being here anymore. I'm gonna go to the bar. I'm still waiting for my ticket refund back in 2018 when Ohio State didn't punt.
Yeah, I would love to know though. Oh gosh, that's
I'm
awesome.
waiting for my refund that we just talked about with none not catching the football.
Oh yeah, without a question.
Or LaKeven Smith, he owes us too.
Yeah, LaKeven owes us too. that was probably a bigger one than Terrence because we came back down 28-0 in that game.
That was Texas Tech, right?
Yeah, Texas Tech.
That was my first ever home game I ever experienced. That's one of my most special memories of Memorial Stadium, despite the memory was walking out of the gate for the first time an hour before kickoff and seeing like the student section. We had seats in North Stadium, probably about 20 rows up, right in the middle behind the goalposts, and walking out of the gate and seeing like the student section being like, oh, like TV didn't do the Sea of Red justice. Like that moniker made sense the first time I saw it. So despite the Lakeven Smith moment and despite the loss in that game, still one of the most special Memorial Stadium moments to me as I look back. And that's the thing about Memorial Stadium is it's about making memories. There hasn't been good memories recently.
Yep.
Like the folks that have gone to games recently, you don't have special memories going to that place. But I think back to my early childhood of all the special memories there. And the one that stands out is the first ever game going and seeing Nebraska, Texas Tech and seeing the Sea Red for the first time.
Same thing YZ top at his first game going there. He said Ball State, right? Ball State 41-40.
Oh, I remember that.
Lucky diving in and all that. Yeah. So, all right, let's do this. We better take it. Our first break of the hour. When we come back, we'll talk a little NFL in the draft. One Emmett Johnson. We'll talk with Dane Todd about that and a whole lot more when we return.
Ball State, still the fakest sounding college I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Sounds like Bishop Sycamore still, doesn't it? Which one would you rate the worst?
Ball State for sure.
Yeah.
Although at least they can do funny things with their gear, you know.
Yeah, we did at the concert wise. We had two 11-year-olds with us, Tanner and a buddy. So we actually did see the second storm coming. We're like, oh, man. Ooh. Tanner had an 8:00 game on paper, which didn't get played. So we busted out, and then our older kids and their friends and boyfriend and friends stayed till the end, and they experienced like revival and the rain coming down. They were jacked up when they got home at like 1:45 in the morning.
I stayed home and watched my Nuggets. Mistake.
How'd that go for you?
Not good.
Should have stayed in traffic.
Not good.
We're gonna get to it.
Then I went bowling. I was angry, so I went and took it out in some pins.
Was it the emptiest bowling alley ever? Pretty
empty. Not exceptional. There were still a few people in there, but it was pretty empty in there.
I genuinely wonder, though, like with that big delay, how much of a boom that was. For
listen, everybody, the police and all the people that there were a million people going back into downtown or into the rail yard.
Yeah, exactly. You know, those bars and restaurants there were just killing it.
I did see the fact that, like, from where our seats were, it was like we could see the pit right away there. I don't know. I think I saw between 8 and 10 people being shackled away.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know. I also think back to like how you probably can't, but like, how do you get people into the arena at that point to sell your concessions there? I did see at one point they did release a couple of vendors that were outside selling stuff when the people were standing in line, but then the line completely dissipated at 8:30ish when the storm actually came through.
Yeah,
but it did. I think it was a huge boom, like you said.
If anything, though, I thought the storms this weekend, for what they were building, they ended up being a bit of a disappointment.
No,
which is good,
but we got rain.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that's kind of like the ideal world. It's like sometimes when you're expecting a Midwestern thunderstorm and you just get decently heavy rain and some lightning, it's like, this was a letdown. I was expecting the world to end.
The way they displayed it, even yesterday.
And into this morning was supposed to be like the most severe of it all this weekend, and it was
beautiful.
I mean, there was rain this morning, but it was nothing significant.
It rained overnight, right? Did it rain overnight? Because I didn't hear it.
Well, it was supposed to be like lightning and thunder, and we barely got any of that. And when I left the house this morning, it was lightly raining.
It's cold. You Imagine Dragons, lightning and the thunder. Welcome back in the morning. Hookup again. Happy Monday. Hope your week's starting off to a great start. Trip, TRIP is that 9:00 keyword. Text that word to 402-258-2800. It's the last week of keyword. For a chance to win $1,000 sponsored by Liberty First Credit Union. I was going to go into film, but I asked about the playoff, the NHL playoffs thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Woo!
Anybody been catching them?
How about that Edmonton and Anaheim game last night?
Oh yeah, very nice.
I sacrificed my sleep last night to watch that game. So worth it.
Sacrifice. You hear this?
Yeah, you did the right thing. You did the right thing.
Hey, I'm running on like 4.5, 5 hours. We're good though.
There's no playoff like NHL playoffs.
It was. I will say, the Avs series, despite the fact it was a sweep, a little bit more entertaining than the sweep would indicate. But the Avs did what they were supposed to do, and now I'm going to be so overjoyed watching the Stars and the Wild just beat each other up for the next week.
I love that. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's so enjoyable. You just get to sit back and I want punches thrown, I want some big hits. Just let those guys beat the crap out of each other while the Nuggets sit at home and rest up.
I will say the early rounds are my favorite, right? Because you have multiple games every single day of the week for a long time. You get to the later rounds, especially the finals, and it's exciting because it's the finals, right? But you got to wait a couple of days in between games each time, and it's just I don't need that in my life. I just need to be checking scores and seeing what's happening. So
first round, and then the actual finals, the Stanley Cup finals are fun, but like the conference finals are just
I'm like, man, let's get to the good stuff. No, it's fun to watch right now. There's a lot of great hockey being played, and a lot of it's interesting watching certain teams get swept, right? And you look at, a team like Edmonton struggling right now. Then when they're supposed to put people away, or Buffalo.
That's what I'm saying. It's Buffalo. Like we saw the first two games of that series, and you thought, okay, this one might be 6 or 7. Then Buffalo just goes and kills Boston yesterday.
Kills them. 4 in the first.
Yeah. It's incredible. And talk about a fan base that has been yearning for playoff hockey for years. And then Buffalo fans at baseline are insane, right? And so it's that's got to be a wild place to go watch a game right now. But it's fun. It's obviously I'm big into hockey, and so Lincoln Stars here locally are going into Game 5 elimination game on Tuesday against Sioux Falls. They killed Sioux Falls on Friday night, and then kind of had a big letdown on Saturday, and so
that's going back to Sioux Falls for Game 5.
Back to Sioux Falls for Game 5. So there may still be some more local hockey if they can pull that off, but we'll see.
A lot of fun. It's got me captivated into it.
It's watching from a neutral point of view. The product of playoff hockey is so much better than playoff basketball. Which is unfortunate because I do like postseason basketball. But even 5-10 years ago, it was so much better, where the NHL is just getting better year after year. You're getting, I guess, some of that. I'm biased here. I'm going to say some of the Avs kind of Canadian styles. It's less dump and chase in hockey nowadays. You still have the dump and chase forechecking teams, but you have a lot more teams that are going to play it tape to tape through the middle of the ice, and they play such a beautiful brand of offensive hockey that you get some really interesting stylistic matchups. It makes for good hockey watching for the neutral.
Well, it's all the metrics stuff now, right? Like everything that and that's where all the sports have picked up something from baseball, right? Baseball can track every single stat and every, they're head and shoulders above every other league when it comes to tracking every single metric available. Well, that's trickled down to all the other leagues. And then all of a sudden now hockey, one of the big things that came out of it was it used to be when a team pulled their goalie at the end, right? And the old empty net thing, the teaching was always, don't try to score. Don't try to shoot the puck down the ice, because if you get an icing, then it comes right back down. Yeah. Oh, no. And then somebody sat down and looked at all the data on it and the analytics of it, and they said, oh, wait, hang on. What we should be doing is if you get that puck, try to hit the net with it from 200 feet away, because it actually works out better for the team, right? And same thing with the dump and chase hockey. There's still a ton of a big part of hockey is just getting pucks down there, but there's way more controlling it through the neutral zone and trying to enter the zone with the puck on your stick as opposed to giving the other team an opportunity. And so that's really changed the game as well.
But then you still have those physical teams that in the playoffs are going to go dump and chase. And then that's what the Stars pulled on the Avs last year. And the Avs just really could not respond. And it ended up being a great series nonetheless, because you had those contrasting styles. But man, it's a good time of year to be watching hockey.
It's a great
simply put.
Also, part of the great time, NFL draft came and went, all said and done. And we'll focus on Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson getting up. Some people might call it a fall, but what it is. He is the only player drafted by Nebraska. But I think that's a bigger talk as we get further down. But initial thoughts on Emmett in Kansas City feels like a really good fit there. When you look at it, they have Kenneth Walker there. How does Emmett fit there? He gets drafted, but it's the only one drafted. That's the bigger story probably for Nebraska, and what that means for what's been happening at Nebraska and what the future of draft picks at Nebraska could be.
I think if you were to go back 10 years, you'd probably have 3 guys drafted. I'll start off quickly, just give brief thoughts. Deshaun Singleton, he goes undrafted because it was a really, really deep safety class this year. Combine that with the fact that there weren't a lot of safety needy teams in the draft this year. I mean, you have a guy in Xavier Wampa from Iowa who's a 5-star, fantastic athlete, great player at Iowa. He goes undrafted too, which just speaks to how deep this safety draft was. You have two guys in Wampa and Singleton that I think in most other drafts would be getting a 6th or a 7th round opportunity. But being an undrafted guy, not the worst thing in the world, realistically, whenever you can go and if you're one of the priority guys, pick where you want to sign, find a right situation for you. I think Singleton found a great situation with the Chiefs. To flip it around to Sierra Wright, the NFL, I mean, how many guys went off the board in day 1 and day 2 of cornerbacks that are 6'1", 6'2", 6'3"? That's the way the NFL has been moving. They want corners that are physical, that can tackle, that can play physical press coverage. Sierra Wright, from a body point of view, doesn't fit that. I would not be surprised to see him make the active roster for the Bengals. The problem just being the NFL wants those bigger bodied corners, especially guys that can go contribute on special teams as well if you're not going to be a starter. So the game has kind of changed away from corners like him. I still think he's incredibly talented and he'll be contributing in some way, shape, or form, whether it's active roster or practice squad next year. But to Emmett, as a Broncos fan, man,
I knew
the Broncos, and I'm not mad the Broncos didn't pick him. Let me first say that. Jonah Coleman fits the Broncos offense a lot better. Emmett was not a great fit for the Broncos. I'm just frustrated that there's going to be multiple Sundays a year now where I have to root against Emmett Johnson, because assuming he wins that RB2 spot, which you draft him in order to be your RB2, you got to go out and put the work in and win the job. But you draft him to be RB2 behind Kenneth Walker, you'll be getting plenty of opportunities. I know some people see former Super Bowl MVP and they say, Kenneth Walker's going to have the lion's share of the
There's
carries.
a reason why he's out of Seattle.
Well, and what's changed with Seattle this year was that they load managed him throughout the season. He's been a guy who's dealt with injuries his entire pro career. What did Seattle do last year? They were giving him 12 to 16 carries through much of the regular season, kind of keeping the load off of him. So once the playoffs roll around, you can turn him into that workhorse back. If Kansas City's smart, they'll probably do something similar, which would give Emmett a nice number of opportunities, probably on third down as a pass catching back. Hey, you have that long drive, that 10-ish play drive. Here comes Emmett Johnson at the 40-yard line to get you down into the red zone, and then Kenneth Walker comes back into the game. If you win RB2, I think if the Chiefs play it smart with Kenneth Walker this season, you'll have plenty of opportunities in that backfield, which, I mean, that to me is a perfect situation where you step in as a rookie, you're not getting the crap beat out of you like a lot of rookie running backs do. You step into key roles in the game and you're a contributor to the offense without being the focal point of the offense. And not to mention, stepping into a winning team, a contender, always helps your NFL career.
Yeah, it's good for him and a nice spot for him. I think now a lot of the conversation is about the number of Huskers that have not hit the board in recent history, in recent years. And now it's interesting as you read articles, it's kind of this goes into talent evaluation, talent development. I think Barthel will say, hey, feather in the cap, I got a guy drafted, Emmett Johnson on the move. But then second conversation has been the guys that we're bringing in, not freshmen on, it's the portal guys. There's a lot of conversation around what kind of talent you're bringing in that you're not getting guys from other teams, because you're supposed to be upgrading positions and getting guys that aren't getting drafted right now.
You did bring in a couple of guys last year that whenever you brought them in via the portal were supposed to be guys that were competing to be in the NFL draft. Dane Key, whenever you got him in the portal,
you're like shoo-in.
He was a projected 2nd or 3rd round pick.
Right.
And he just falls completely down the board. I do think the Broncos got a good one from an undrafted point of view. The Huskers' loss is the Broncos' gain, and Dane Key's personal loss is the Broncos' gain. He might be actually, in terms of the guys that Nebraska had as undrafted guys, maybe the highest chance to make a roster. From a scheme point of view, he's a perfect fit for the Broncos offense to go kind of be a wide receiver 2 behind Cortland Sutton. I think it works really well, that fit. But you had guys like him. Rocco Spindler was a guy that was supposed to be drafted. Jason McCullough was a guy that's supposed to be drafted. And all 3 of those guys go undrafted a year at Nebraska, which, hey, if you're a portal guy, other portal guys are going to take note of that, which is something to watch out for. That if you, show up to Nebraska in the portal, you fall down the draft board.
It's a bad place to be.
Other schools are going to use that.
Oh, without a question.
Recruiting portal guys.
Yeah, without a question, they will. And the portal thing, still, like, everybody's getting used to it, right? A big part of that is just plugging holes on your roster or trying to fill up space, because you're really trying to generate wins, right? Winning solves most problems, right? Down there, right? And so, and I always come back to there's a reason guys are transferring, right? And it's not always just because
there's
you don't
want to use the word that something else has happened at their former place,
right? Or they're looking for something different, right? And
or hey, they want to take care of that 401k while they're at their highest earning potential ever.
And I don't blame them for wanting to do that at all. But as I look at any of the transfer players, there's always a huge grain of salt with them coming in. And it comes into the way that we've been talking about Nebraska football and Nebraska sports and what happens around here every single spring. And we haven't done this year, which has been awesome. And really nobody's doing this year is the sunshine pumping, this is the greatest player who ever lived. The reason why he's transferring is because Georgia didn't realize that he's the greatest player who ever lived, and therefore that's why he never played a snap there. I'm not sure that that's quite how it works, seeing how all those coaches and teams are actually trying to win. And so I always take it with a huge grain of salt on what guys are going to be when they show up.
And as a new head coach, you have probably 24 months, 2 years, maybe a little over to sell hope. You are past the point of Matt Rule, the point you can sell up. You got to sell success. You got to sell results. And I'm not just talking to the fan base. I'm talking to recruits. I'm talking
bottom
to
line ROI, man.
Yeah.
That's where you're at.
You're past the point now where you can sell hope. This is not an off season where you can sell hope. The fans just aren't buying it anymore.
Right.
You got to sell results in the fall. And could this team be a team that has better results? Husker fans are smart enough to know, even if it's a 7-5 season, but the results look more sustainable, Husker fans can get behind it.
I think there's
and the way they built this roster next year, they've invested heavily along the offensive line. They have a quarterback who can run the football. Like, this is going to be a more Big Ten styled offense, I think, with some playmakers on the outside as well. If it's 7-5, but you see, hey, an offensive line that's more buttoned up with an offensive line coach that developed a first-round guard this year at Georgia Tech, a defensive coordinator that seems to have more, what's the best way to put this, flexibility in his defensive scheme, so that whenever you do have a team that comes to town that's not a great matchup, hey, we can pull some special tricks out of the bag to try to limit them and give our offense a chance. Husker football fans are smart. They know what progress looks like, even if it's not in the form of wins, and that's kind of what I'm looking for this year. Can you sell progress to this Husker fan base and to recruits, to transfer portal guys after this upcoming season? Because if you can't, you're out of time to sell hope.
Speaking of the progress part, I mean, going back to your days, you had Coach Solitz there, then you went to Callahan and the assistants, how important that assistant group is I mean, again, softball, right? For development, because I want to go back, and I don't know that maybe the numbers on it, but having a guy like Coach Callahan at the top, being a Mensa of offensive linemen, is one of those kind of guys you want around from that perspective, because then you see people getting drafted at that spot. But the importance of your position coach versus the head guy most of the time.
Yeah, that's who you spend all your time with. That's who you do all your drill work with. That's who you learn all your technique from, is your position coach. And it was great having Callahan as the, O-line guru.
Yeah, he's still doing it today.
Yeah, he still does it today because everybody knows he's just a guru. But then Coach Callahan gets to wander over there and hang out with the O-linemen and teach them everything that he knows and make sure that it's happening right. Now, on the flip side, too, you get some position coaches who don't know what they're doing, right? Or don't have good techniques, and you're going to go downhill, right? But what you need is somebody realizing and recognizing that that's what's happening, and either change it or change out that coach, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you, our linebacker coach, when we were there with Callahan, after Jimmy Williams, quite honestly, was terrible. Okay. I'll be honest with you. Absolutely terrible. The game of football is played with your hands, right? Like, I get it. There's tackling and everything else, but to beat players and get off blocks and do those kinds of things, you have to use your hands. When Jimmy Williams is sitting there teaching those linebackers how to use their hands, a guy who played in the NFL for 10 years, right? And in one-on-one drills with the running backs and fullbacks against the linebackers, we could barely block those guys because they were just killing us. And then the very next season, they can't beat any of us because your only technique is run through somebody. Like that's a downgrade in your technique and skills. And so those position coaches are vital.
Well, and that hurts the offense too. If you have a defensive line that can't get off block, you're not training up the offensive line to go out there and be great. And as you look across football, this is, I'd say, all levels. It's relative to the talent you're playing against, but find me a team with a great offensive line that has bad results. Offensive line sets the floor for what your team can be. I think the skill position guys sets the ceiling, but your offensive line and the defensive line as well sets the floor for how good you can be.
Yeah.
You don't see bad football teams with a great offensive line. It just doesn't happen.
No, if you can just have great line play, you can have you have an opportunity to have exceptional seasons, right? You're very rarely going to end up with some 3-9 season if your O-line and your D-line are killing everybody, right? But
I don't think I've ever seen a 3-9 team with a great offensive line.
But you're not winning a national championship without great O and D line play, and that's all there is to it. I think the way you put it there is perfect. Your line play sets the floor, right?
Well, you just look across the Big Ten. Does Iowa have great skill talent? No, but they have great offensive line play and defensive line play, and they can go. I mean, they're a drive away from being in the college football playoff last year. A drive away against Oregon. Oregon makes a great drive at the end of the game. They win that football game. Iowa's in the college football playoff.
They're in it.
Even Indiana.
Look at Minnesota. Minnesota, it was a down year for them last year. Whenever they won games on the lines of scrimmage, they won football games. It's what PJ Fleck has done for year over year.
They win there.
And how does he win? He's got mammoth offensive linemen that get defensive linemen off the ball. No matter who their running back is, no matter who their quarterback is, they will put up 21 to 28 points.
I mean, look at us. We had how many sacks in that game?
Did they give up? Was it double digits?
It was close.
Yeah, it was like 9.
9, I think.
I tried to stricken that one from the record.
Yeah, I know.
So awesome. Great stuff. Good conversation there, guys.
And that's going to be a barometer for success I'm looking at with all these portal linemen you've brought in on the offensive side of the ball. Does Nebraska get some linemen drafted next year? And you have some candidates.
Yes, you do. And I think that was the wrap-up part of that is the conversation around Jeep Wade. Jeep Wade had at Georgia Tech, he got the number 26, right? He had number 26 drafted, a O lineman drafted. Then at 27, Ulrich had a guy drafted out of his defense.
Yeah, Chris Johnson, the defensive back.
So we got two guys from their former schools that got drafted. So
it was an interesting 5-pick run because you had Scott Frost have a guy picked, you had Jeep Wade get a guy picked, and then you had Rob Orich get a guy picked. Whereas Matt Rule, I'm pretty sure his last first-round talent was Hassan Reddick at Temple.
Yep.
So the last first-rounder he had drafted.
It's a lot of conversation around that. So, all right, let's take our final break of the hour and come back with more with the doctor, Dr. Dane Todd. Okay.
I'm cold in this room. It's hot in there.
Good morning, Athletics. Good morning, Ollie. Good morning, Megan. Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for hanging out. I said today is one of those days. My wife and I were talking this morning. Today is like that day. I got a lot going on, but if I didn't, it's just a curl up with a blanket kind of day at home. 58 high.
I got to figure out if I'm going to watch my Nuggets at 9:30 tonight.
No.
It's ridiculous.
I'm talking to a class tomorrow morning at 8 via Zoom in here. So and I'm already,
you gotta be ready. Wait,
and I'm already.
Hey, are you gonna go polo up?
Probably.
Polo up and gym shorts below.
But I'm already low on sleep, so I was staying up watching Edmonton and Anaheim last night.
A class at UNL?
No, it's Buena Vista, I think.
Oh,
I did not. I got some sleep. I got a good nap.
I
don't nap
Storm
very
Lake,
much.
Iowa.
Well, I don't nap very much. Yesterday, I got in my chair.
Sorry, Briarcliff.
1:30ish, 1:45 yesterday. And I was watching I had Husker baseball on. I had the trifecta. I had Husker baseball on. I had the Zurge class going, which we'll talk about. And honestly, I was watching Nelly Corda on the LPJ yesterday, too.
I went and watched the new Mario movie.
I've seen it.
The family. Not going to lie.
You saw half of it.
The last half hour was the best nap of my life. It was really good.
Aren't the best naps the ones I don't know, sitting in your chair and you just don't realize you're going to sleep?
That's a good $9 nap right there.
Well, the movie theaters, they make you especially put the leg rest up, the thing.
Oh, no. I think they're doing that to me on purpose.
Yeah. Oh no, they built that for parents with younger kids.
Yeah, without a question.
So how you guys' lawns looking? Looking good?
Amazing. They're going to get better.
Mine always looks terrible at all times.
You need turf in your backyard.
I know.
You just need turf.
My front yard doesn't look too bad.
No, you just need turf it.
The front yard's the side of the lawn that matters more.
Yeah, I got a big old oak tree out front, and that's hard on it. All the acorns and the stupid squirrels. Drives me nuts.
They've turned into my father yelling at squirrels at the front of my house.
Yeah, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. You're doing the right
thing.
Off the record, my dad had a pellet gun.
Off the record. I mean, what do you think I did growing up, right?
Did he get his wallpaper taken down? This project? Or did he get halfway through and go,
It's still down. It was my sister's 21st yesterday. So
whoa!
Spent some time at my dad's house. And yeah, the wallpaper's still down, not replaced yet.
Not the worst. Maybe turning 21 on a Sunday. Yuck.
Especially with the concert in downtown Lincoln Saturday night, where it's just it's a madhouse downtown.
Welcome back in the morning. Hookup. 2 moments left with the doc, Dr. Dane Todd.
Trip. TRIP. Trip.
402-258-2800.
Well done, Elijah. Good bailout right there.
I had a thought, and I was just forgot what my thought was.
You had a senior moment.
I did, man. I kind of blanked on that one for a minute. I was going to ask you what the clinic was going on, and status quo.
Not a lot has changed since last week.
Yeah.
But like I said, we are opening up a new office. June. I want to say 6, whatever that first week of June is. Whatever that first week of June is. Over by in the area near North Star High School, we're going to have an orthopedic urgent care there, and we're actually also starting physical therapy. So we'll have our own physical therapy there too. So trying to do the best we can to help people get rid of their flat all the time. You need a pair. Oh yeah, that'd be fair for this. Oh, for this, yeah, I know.
I had mine out the other day.
Oh, did you? I love that. Gotta be jealous. All right, I'll order you one. I'll get you one.
You really like some of those unhinged t-shirts that Todd.
Building an entire apparel shop.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Is you got to go a little unhinged.
Okay.
More than just do
something wild,
like a big blown up image of the face.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody needs that.
A little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody needs that on a shirt.
Well, how about we'll have a knee, but then the knee will be your face.
Oh God, that sounds awful. Are you onto something? Yeah, interesting. That senior moment just keeps continuing.
We're on to something. I mean, we can make this business go backwards now. Make this business go backwards. But
that's never the goal.
No, I went and saw Dr. Dane Todd, and all I got was this stupid T-shirt.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Honestly, that'd be great, right? You'd be shocked at how many people with the shorts and tank tops we have in the office are like, I keep this. I'm like, giving the old head nod. They just
I see people at the gym wearing them.
Yeah, dude, it's perfect. Doesn't bother me one bit. Go with it. Go. That's good advertising.
Hello, marketing. So I think that's what Schmitty was going to do this weekend.
Everywhere.
And poor old people sitting in their living room just trying to enjoy a nice cup of coffee or something.
No, I've got some of those Slims balls. You better believe I'll be marketing the hell out of those things for about 2 weeks, and they'll all be gone.
See, I don't know. I don't know if I want to take them out of the box.
And they're going to be calling me.
It's a collector's item.
Gotta use them.
I'm waiting for a course where I can lose more golf balls, because that's the marketing that Hooksy needs. Is you go find a ball in the woods with the Slims logo on it.
But here's the thing, though. If you go play a spot like Firethorn, where when you lose one, it's in that tall grass that'll never be seen again. It's gone.
Out. I bet you on one of those holes, I can one over the top blind par 4. There's 1,000 golf balls.
Yeah, you got to play it on some course where you're gonna lose it, but somebody has a reasonable chance of finding it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty much any course for me, honestly.
You're gritting your teeth thinking about your course and your golf game. That was the Dr. Dane Todd kicking us off on a Monday. Again, drdanetodd.com, 402-484-4012. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you, boys.
You got 4 minutes left to get that word trip in. TRIP, 402-258-2800. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with Evan Blam on my World Herald.
Have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, and because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Save big when you shop at Menards. Shop the largest in-stock selection of AC2 pressure-treated lumber and thick decking. All easy to load in our drive-through lumber yard. Plus, get free estimates using our easy-to-use deck design program. Available in-store or on Menards.com. Save big on AC2 pressure-treated lumber and thick decking at Menards. Also, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Trying to keep up with today's fast-changing digital landscape, with more ways to consume content than ever before, it is getting harder to reach your customers. You need more than just a presence. You need the experts at Conrex Digital. We craft websites that convert. We curate engaging content on social and block channels. We generate quality leads through Google and Meta. We dominate your competition on streaming TV. Bold marketing, real results. Conrex Digital makes it happen. Visit conrexdigital.com. That's conrexdigital.com.
Hey, sis. Missed you this morning. Jim told me you weren't feeling well, so I'm just doing a self-care check.
Thank you, friend.
How you doing?
Girl, listen, my energy was so low because I didn't eat breakfast when I got up, so I had to miss virtual yoga with y'all.
Trust me, I understand.
But I'm doing much better now that I've eaten, so I'm back on track.
Great. In that case, let's get some steps in tonight. I'll come over and we can walk around the lake.
Sounds good. Appreciate you being in my business, too. Now, let me get in yours. Did you check your blood pressure today?
I did that and my squats. Okay?
Okay.
High blood pressure is not going to be my friend if I can help it. See you at 6?
Let's get it. See you then.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Check in on one another and be a part of the healthy blood pressure movement. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The suspect in the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting will have his first court appearance today. In the meantime, we're finding out more about who he is and what his motive may have been.
Sources describe a message Cole Allen allegedly sent to his family before the attack. That message allegedly describes grievances against Trump administration officials, expressing how, if necessary, he would kill from the highest ranking to the lowest, including any Secret Service member that got in his way.
ABC's Pierre Thomas. President Trump says the incident is proof that the heavily secured White House ballroom and the bunker being built underneath it need to be finished. Sources say Iran is offered to end its chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for the U.S. laying the blockade on Iranian ports and an end to the war. Here's ABC's Martha Raddatz.
Over the weekend, the president calling off his Mideast envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner, who were set to travel to Pakistan.
We're not going to spend 15 hours in airplanes all the time going back and forth to be giving a document that was not good enough. And so we'll deal by telephone, and they can call us anytime they want.
Iran's foreign minister instead leaving Pakistan Saturday after meeting with Pakistani leaders. As the war enters week 9, the Strait of Hormuz remains closed.
The president is expected to meet with his national security team today. A marathon run in under 2 hours for the first time ever.
Sebastian Sawe has broken the 2-hour barrier, finishing the London Marathon Sunday in 1 hour, 59 minutes and 30 seconds. Yomif Kajalcha came in second, also beating the 2-hour mark. His fellow Ethiopian Tigast Assefa set a new women's record. All three were wearing Adidas trainers, and the company's stock price surged after the race.
ABC's Jim Ryan. As for current stock prices, the Dow is down 125 points. This is ABC News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-979-3535. That's 800-979-3535. 800-979-3535.
A Nebraska representative gives his perspective on what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Good morning, I'm Jeff Moat. Still some light rain in the area, 59 degrees at KFOR. Gunfire erupted in the lobby of the Washington Hilton Hotel Saturday night where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was taking place. Secret Service, they were able to get President Trump out safely to the White House. Security also helped other officials into a safe location. Nebraska 1st District Republican Congressman Mike Flood was a guest of C-SPAN and attended the dinner. He says he recalls hearing people say, "Get down."
I almost just shed a tear just watching this scene. It's like, we're better than this. Like, we don't want to live this way. I mean, here everybody is doing the right thing. Republicans, Democrats, members of the media, celebrating the First Amendment, what makes America strong and great, an example for the rest of the world. And your president is on the ground. Your vice president has been shuttled out. All of these senior leaders of our government are being whisked away.
One U.S. Secret Service agent was wounded in the shooting, being struck in the chest by gunfire while wearing an armored vest. The agent suffered non-life-threatening injuries and was released from the hospital after receiving treatment. Lincoln Marathon and Half Marathon will run for the 49th time next Sunday, and starting at 14th and Vine, then finishing up on the west side of Memorial Stadium. Jamie Lanka is with the Lincoln Marathon and says spectators will line up along the race course that winds through some neighborhoods to cheer on the runners.
And they have like fun stations and music going, so in these neighborhoods just bring so much to the table.
Lanka says that they're having 7,000 runners participate from 46 states and 7 countries that plan to be there to compete in the marathon. Race time next Sunday morning is at 7 o'clock. Lincoln's first forecast, cloudy, breezy today, still at 80% chance of rain and a high of 60. Partly cloudy tonight, a low of 40. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, a 40% chance of showers and a high of 57. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News.
Your chance at winning $1,000 is happening right now at Lincoln's KFOR. Just enter this winning word by texting it to 402-258-2800 and you could be our next 1K a day winner. Here is this hour's winning word.
New. N-E-W. New.
Now text that word to 402-258-2800 for your chance at $1,000 from Lincoln's KFOR.
thinking about starting weight loss treatment? GoodRx is here to help. We offer FDA-approved GLP-1 medications prescribed by licensed providers, including the Wegovy tablet, with straightforward pricing and pickup at your local pharmacy or delivery to your door. All from America's #1 prescription app. Go to goodrx.com/weight loss to get started. GoodRx is not insurance. Cancel anytime. #1 prescription app ranked by a third-party study.
This is the Morning Hookup on KFOR.
Welcome back to the Morning Hookup, hour number 2. Special thanks here to the doctor, Dr. Dane Todd, hanging out with us. Elijah out, needing some rest.
Been burning at both ends.
Yep. Coming up here in about 10 minutes, Evan Blam on my world here. We'll talk Husker baseball. Winning weekend. It had big implications, by the way, that winning weekend. We'll talk about that. I got a question about baseball polls. I don't know where to look at. I want to know, understand why. I don't know. Like your football, basketball, there's AP and coaches,
polls,
right?
Yeah.
I can look at the net rankings. I can look at RP, all that stuff, right? It's like Nebraska softball, like you're number 1 or you're number 4. It's just, I don't know, just thoughts.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of different services out there. We'll do stories you missed as well. But how about NBA playoffs? They're rolling. Bless you.
Thank you.
The playoffs are often rolling. They're still providing, some big ones. Yesterday, let's go back. We'll go back a few days, actually. Let's go back and look. Magic causing some problems out there in the East. They get one. They take a 2-1 lead, 113-105. And that Thunder just doing Thunder stuff. That thing, see ya, good night.
Yeah, I think most people thought coming into not even just the playoffs, but in the regular season, you just know OKC is going to be the Western Conference Finals. They're pretty much a shoe-in for it.
Yep. Out there, the Knicks go out. They get one in Atlanta to tie that thing up 2-2. Probably the most intriguing thing that's happening right now is that Nuggets T-Wolves series.
Yeah.
And see, now it's 3-1. And Minnesota, boy, they playing good basketball, just taking the fight, I would say, to the Nuggets right now. And that's with Minnesota being in a little depth trouble. DiVincenzo torn Achilles. All now also being said, boy, it looked bad for Ant, but it could be worse. Bone bruise, hyperextended, I think multiple weeks out. So they'll be without his services the rest of this series. But they do hold a big 3-1 lead.
Well, they've gotten guys to step up when other guys have gone down. Was it Desunmo the other night?
Woo, boy, how good has he been? Former Illinois standout.
Ayo Desunmo.
He dropped 40 in that game?
Yeah.
Woo.
He was just absolutely on fire. He came over from the Bulls earlier this season. That was an absolute steal of a trade.
Yep.
You just have next man up mentality, and they have, guys that play extremely good defense. They match up really well with the Nuggets, and they've made life hell on Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. It's been kind of you've seen the loss of Aaron Gordon and how that's affected this team, and Denver hasn't been able to respond to that, and Minnesota has lost some guys, and they've been able to fight back and respond to it, and that's been the difference so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of guys stepping up, my goodness, how about last night? Your Celtics.
Whew. Which guy do you want to talk about
Well,
that stepped up?
I think there's only one. I mean, there's a lot of guys that stepped up, but I don't know if you'd ever imagine it being Pritchard. Stepping in off the bench to give you 32, 4, and 5, 12 of 21, 6 of 12, perfect from the line, a 32-point performance. And now that's best of the night on that group. But you also had Tatum drop you 37 and 11 with a double-double. He was 5 of 10 from 3. Brown, 28. I mean, you just had guys all over the place. They shot 24 of 53, 24 three-point shots made last night in a rout, 128-96 to spoil the return of Joel Embiid, who had a great night, by the way, 28, 10, and 6.
It's extremely hard to beat this team when they are making their shots. It's kind of the same formula as Nebraska basketball. You have 5 to 7 guys that all can shoot 37% or more from 3. So it's kind of pick your poison. Who are you going to leave? And Pritchard, he's always been, that little spark plug off the bench, but not like last night. He'll come out and play really hard. He's like 5'10", but he'll go down there and box out a center and throw a shoulder into somebody and come down and hit a three on the other end. He always gives you that little boost you need off the bench. But last night was something different. Just he was absolutely unconscious from three, could not miss. And then when the Jays are rolling 0 and 7, when that duo is playing how they've been playing, it's the Celtics. Celtics are back, man.
They were tough last night. That series goes to 3-1 now. Some other affairs last night you had the Raptors getting one at home last night, getting some big time performance. Scotty Barnes last night outdueling Donovan Mitchell. They go 93-89 to tie that one up. Welcome back, Wemby, as you help propel your team to a 114-93 to take a commanding 3-1 lead in that one. It looked like an aging star last night in the game as you watched the Lakers finally give one up last night, 115-96. Amen Thompson, a good night, 23, 4, and 7.
Yeah, that one was surprising. I think everybody thought that one was kind of wrapped up just with how the series has gone so far.
Yeah,
Lakers have played so good. Houston has played so bad. It just felt like this one is over. And I don't think Houston will come back down to 3-0, but I mean, I guess they threw a punch back last night.
Never say never. The third quarter last time you look at that game, 34-18 in the third.
Yeah.
That pretty much sealed it. And then they went on to win it a big one tonight or today. You're going to get some big ones tonight. I guess you look at it, Pistons, Magic tonight. Magic up 2-1. And that one, they're in Orlando for game 4. I think the series will be over tonight as Thunder head out to Phoenix to take on the Suns. I think one that we'll be watching pretty close tonight is that nightcap 9:30 T-Wolves Nuggets. Nuggets are an 11.5-point favorite.
Yeah. Is there some sort of suspension coming with what happened?
I don't think there was suspension. I think they threw out, didn't they?
So some disciplinary things.
Yeah, I think there were fines. I know that Randall and I thought I read so far just Randall and I can't even say it. Randall and Jokic were fined.
And that's
but not suspended. It says I have it right here. They were suspended.
And that comes from at the end of the game,
$50,000 for Jokic and $35,000 from Julius Randle. The only two at this point that has been thrown out there. They thought maybe they would go watch the bench and see if some players come off the bench or not in this one.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, that is about it.
And if you didn't see this, basically Jaden McDaniels took the ball. The game was more than wrapped up. I think it was the final seconds, and he went and scored a basket on the other end. And the Nuggets, especially Nikola Jokic, took exception to that one. And there was
What's your thoughts on it? Because he said, "Look, man, he threw me the ball and I'm supposed to score."
No, I dribbled the clock out. the
I'm supposed to score, man.
The game's over. There's really, I mean, you want to put your exclamation on it. I get it from both ends, to be honest. Like you're hyped up in the playoffs. You're at home. You just beat a team. You just got another win in the playoffs. I get it. You know, your emotions are riding high. And then from the Nuggets perspective, it's like they take it as disrespect.
It's an interesting. It's like
it's hard to meet in the middle for it. Right?
Yeah, they said it's probably relatable to the unwritten rules in baseball, right?
Exactly. Yeah, show your opponent respect, even if you do mollywop them like they did.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what all that does tonight, because obviously Minnesota will be missing some key pieces. Are they able to find that magic from other players like they have so far tonight in those games? Because you're going to get it's back to NBC a little bit, 7 o'clock, 8:30. Again, it is late to 9:30. Nuggets are man, they're giving the 11.5-point favorites tonight.
Yeah.
I would anticipate the Nuggets finding a way tonight.
Speaking of magic, what do you think about that series? That one's been kind of perplexing to me. I thought Detroit was going to roll through Orlando.
Boy, I think it's one of those things, man. When you look at it, they're taking the fight to the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking the fight to the Pistons, and it's been a matchup. When you look at it, I don't believe it's been interesting on the defensive end. I think, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm going back real quick because I don't believe has anybody scored 100 points in a game yet in that series.
Yeah.
Did somebody barely get over 100 in one of the games?
Game 1 was 112 to 101.
When you look at the last two, then
they were. I mean, compared to what the NBA is now, these are low scores.
Yes, these are not great shooting nights or low scoring affairs. Like I said, in essence of the NBA, when you're looking at 120s and 130s, you're getting 112s, low 105, somewhere in there, or the game that 101, 93, 83, just not what you're used to seeing. But I think a lot of that's been the Magic have made these games defensive and ugly.
Yeah, and I mean, Detroit really hasn't had much of a response because their main scoring option is Cade Cunningham, and you look outside of that, they don't have guys that can create off the dribble and create offense for other guys. Everything starts with Cade Cunningham, and he's going for 31 points per game, but you're just not getting much from everybody else.
Nope.
And so they need other guys to step up. And
I think some of this goes back to also, again, not the Magic the same way, but it looks to me, sometimes it feels like watching them play goes back to lack of playoff experience.
Yep.
And the pressure of being the number one seed all in the same year.
Yep.
Playing that's a little less tight than normal.
They went from the absolute bottom of the barrel and having 18 wins in an entire season to going to the number one seed. It's uncharted territory for them. They're not used to it at all.
So more to come on the NBA playoffs as well as we keep marching through it. Boy, it's been exciting as well. So let's take a break. And when we go to break, by the way, there's a 10 o'clock keyword. It's new, N-E-W, new. Can text that word at 402-258-2800 for a chance to win $1,000. Sponsored by Liberty First Credit Union. Man, get it out. Words are hard this morning, so we appreciate you guys for taking the time and hanging out with us. Coming up, Evan Blam, Omaha World Herald. Yeah, buddy. Big weekend for Nebraska baseball.
Yeah, Dane, I wish I could see for free.
What a he's got the lines, man.
What did he say to Elijah when he walked in? He's like, the floor's squeaking even though it's cement.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it gives me the laughs. We gotta get him right, man. It's gonna be an interesting conversation with Evan.
Who, Katsky?
Yeah, I know what we're seeing right now. But you know what you're getting. You're getting that Saturday affair. Boy, my goodness.
My one of my other coach and I, every time Katsky takes the bump, we just text each other and we're like disappointed.
Because you got what you needed. You got Yasa doing Yasa. The bats came alive for me. I did have 6 walks. But and then Blakovich, whoa, he was good yesterday. Welcome back in the morning hookup. We are having a great start to your week. Bring on our guy now from the Omaha World Herald, Evan Bland. Evan, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, guys.
Boy, another winning weekend for Nebraska baseball. I want to start off by asking you, and again, this is probably going to be a lot of education for our listeners as well, because I had the question, and I think some people were like, so Nebraska moved up in the polls. They go to 16, an RPI boost from the weekend and the game at Kansas. But that's when they asked me, why does baseball, probably softball as well, have so many different polls to look at? And which poll would you suggest that they look at as they're looking at Nebraska's at 16? Because I know the other day softball was 1 or 4, or you see Nebraska at 16 or whatever number. What's the one poll to look at, and why maybe so many different polls?
Yeah, it's a little different than like football, right? Where it's been the Associated Press for a long time, and that's sort of the established, norm. I think the one that's probably most recognized in the industry is the D1 baseball poll right now. That tends to be the one Nebraska uses. That's mostly the one that I use as well. But I mean, there are other very solid ones out there. Perfect Game has a good one. Baseball America does a good job. The National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association has one as well. So really there's like 4 or 5 kind of main ones out there. And, like anything, I think they just give you a sense of how the program's viewed from different outlets. And for example, a couple weeks ago, D1 dropped Nebraska out of the top 25, but they were still ranked in, I think, 3 of the other 4. And so, that maybe it gives you an idea that dropping them out at that point was sort of a harsh move. But now you have a week like this where they go 2-2, and they actually move up in D1 from 20 to 16, in part because of what's going on around them. And, losing to Kansas on the road really didn't hurt them at all. In fact, it kind of helped them a little bit. But yeah, to answer your question, I think D1 baseball is probably the one that I look at. They tend to be out early on Monday mornings, and their guys are probably the most visible in terms of how they decide to rank the teams.
It's Evan Bland with us from the Omaha World Herald. And Nebraska baseball did have a winning weekend, taking 2 or 3 games from Illinois. But that game that they did drop was something Hooks and I talked about in the commercial break. Was Cooper Katzke lately has sort of struggled on the bump. In your opinion, Evan, what's going on with Katzke, and how can he move forward from this?
Yeah, this is the time of year I like to start looking at conference-only stats, because you're deep enough into it now that you kind of those numbers start to normalize a bit, and like when you're looking at other teams, like it's I think it's the best way to sort of evaluate how guys are doing. And Katzke, like his ERA, I believe, is still above 6 in conference play, which is below average. And it's it's kind of it's an odd deal, because he was so strong in the midweek to start the year. He was good on Sunday when he moved there, and his 2 Friday starts especially have just not been up to his standard. I think the one a week ago against USC, you could kind of say, well, it was on short rest, and he was in that new role for the first time, and you could kind of maybe understand why that would have been a little shorter. This most recent one I thought was concerning too. It wasn't as sharp, and this is the guy who Nebraska is counting on for length, and they were in his previous role, and they are now. You want a Friday guy who can at least give you 5, and Nebraska's been in a habit, whether it's been Ty Horn or Katzke, of having to go to its bullpen in the 4th, 5th inning. It's just not a recipe for winning a lot of weekend series. Now, Nebraska's been able to do that with some of the other elements of their game, but I do think that Friday role is probably one that the Huskers are still going to have to figure out in the next month ahead of the postseason. Can they get Katzke back to the guy who he was earlier this season, the guy who he was at Miami of Ohio when he was the MAC pitcher of the year last year? Or do you look at and maybe consider a Carson Yasa for that Friday job? He's been the most consistent in league play, gave him the most length, consistently throughout the year. So maybe that's something they decide to do. I don't think you make that move yet, but certainly in the next couple weeks, you want to set up your staff to where that Friday guy can give you some innings on a Friday. And so I think they're working through that with Katsuki right now.
You know, Evan, I was going to ask you that about, like, you look at a guy like Yasa, but like overall, looking at a Friday night guy, is there a model of a Friday night guy? Because I think that's the guy that's it sets a tone. Somebody asked me the other day, don't you think your Friday night guy should throw in the mid 90s? Does he get you off to the best start? Because I think over time, if your Friday night guy is not that guy, you're stressing Saturdays and Sundays quite a bit, especially when you look at Nebraska. Yasa's been nails for sure. Blachowicz, we'll talk about him in a little bit, but can you build the model Friday night guy for a pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are different ways that you can do it. To me, the number one thing, like I said, is got to be length. I think you need a guy who can at least give you 6 on a Friday. Maybe he gives you 7, and how that happens can come in a variety of ways. If you're in the SEC, yeah, your guy's going to be mid to upper 90s. You're going to be flirting with double-digit strikeouts every week. Probably you're going to be a major league prospect and all these different things. I think you can do it too in more of a pitch to contact approach. I mean, Katsuki was that guy at Miami of Ohio last year. He was not a super big swing and miss guy, although he did have some of that, like a lot of weak contact. And sometimes those most effective guys are the ones where you get in the 6th inning and he's got like 82 pitches and 4 strikeouts, and your team's up 5-2 or something like that. I think that's ideal. And your point, Hooksy, is like, it's not just about the Friday night win. It's also about how you set up the rest of the weekend. So if you go 7 on Friday and you turn it over to your closer, then you got the rest of your bullpen at your disposal on Saturday and Sunday. Whatever your starters give you, and then you can mix and match the rest of the way. Like, that's the recipe for winning weekends. And so Nebraska has been sort of overcoming that, like I said, in a lot of ways. Solid defense. The offense has been versatile and deep, but that's just not something you can count on. Like, that's not plan A every time going into a series. So whether it's guys that get swing and miss or weak contact, but the bottom line is, can you get through 6 with the lead, save that bullpen for that Friday game, and set up the weekend? I think that's still what they're trying to figure out.
On the opposite side, we talked about pitching so far. Let's talk about the bats, and the bats have been extremely hot, going all the way back to the USC series. The offense has been putting up really good numbers, even in losses to Kansas and losses to Illinois. You still had 5 runs and 7 runs. What's been so good about their approach of the plate, and what have they done with base runners on that have allowed them to put these runs up on the board?
Yeah, I mean, they've just kind of been doing what they've been doing all year. Excuse me. Mac Moyer, I think his on-base streak is like 43 games now or something like that. Like, that's elite production at the top of the lineup that sets the table for everybody else. Jeter Worthley has come on. He had his first collegiate home run yesterday. Like, that's someone who's getting better, I think, as the season's gone on. And your main guys, I mean, Dylan Carey has been the guy that Nebraska's hoped for. Case Sanderson, kind of the same thing. Like, these are guys hitting for power, getting on base at a clip north of 400. They're seeing a lot of pitches, and it's a deep lineup too. I mean, you look at the bottom third of their lineup. I mean, you've got a 5th-year guy like Joshua Overbeek hitting out of there sometimes. Rhett Stokes has been hitting at the bottom of the lineup. One of your national players of the week, Drew Grigo, as a freshman, has been hitting 7th. So, there's just not a break the way that there sometimes has been for Nebraska baseball through the years, where you get to the bottom third and you just can't take a batter off if you're a pitcher. And I still think, like, two of the big qualities that this team has that's sort of hard to quantify. One is they're really good at responding to when an opponent does something. So if an opponent scores, like, the chance that Nebraska is going to at least get a run or 2 back has been really high this year, I think, relative to a lot of teams in college baseball. And then I think the other thing that they've done really well is they just grind out opposing pitchers. And it doesn't always show up in the crooked inning, but sometimes, they might score a run, but they saw 25 or 30 pitches because they're working full counts and taking their walks and getting hit by pitches and all these different things. And so that gets you into your opponent's bullpen sooner, and then that sets up some of these winning weekends the way that they've had over the course of 3 games. So I think it's a group that's just that it knows its identity. It's not trying to be something that it isn't, and now it's seen some success, and so there's confidence behind that as well. So it's a group I think that's been in some big moments and just kind of believes that it's going to come through, and that's invaluable when you get to this time of year.
Well, and that's a great point because they did it on Sunday with the Illinois starter in Flynn. He did go 6, but he had a lot of pitches. He had a lot of dudes as well. But the theme on Sunday was probably pitching and a get-right game for Gavin Blachowicz. Talk about that, how important that was for him, that Sunday guy, giving you 6 in the third, and important. There was a pivotal part. If you were watching that game, first of all, that coverage was, they were calling people the wrong name. At some point, I was getting a little upset. I thought I heard Dylan Casey and Rhett Stoker, I believe is what I heard in the broadcast. But that pivotal 6th inning, when you got first and third, you get the strikeout, the double play, and then Ty Horn comes in and just shuts it down.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, as an aside, my favorite is when national people call it Haymaker Park.
Yes.
That's one of my favorites. Tells you they've really been locked in. But no, yes, the sequence you described was critical. You look at, so Blachowicz is number 6 in the third. His pitch count, 80. He threw 80 pitches. Like, that's incredibly encouraging. Like, you see a number like that, and you probably think it's like 100, 110. So just really efficient outing after a couple of shorter ones for Blachowicz. And he was a guy still, like, you remember why they moved him initially into the midweek before he took, Horn's spot essentially on the weekend, was they wanted to manage his load, the innings that he's been putting out there. And so you kind of wondered about some fatigue and some of these different things. And this was very encouraging that maybe that's much ado about nothing, and that he's kind of found his second wind here later in the season as a guy who's taken on a bigger workload than he's had before. So yeah, the pitches had life. He had a variety of them, got out of some tight spots, a couple of them that there were, ultimately gives up no runs. And, that's what you need on a Sunday to win series. And so that's another guy that you'd love to continue to see more of that from here in the next few weeks before the postseason, as you try to square up your rotation for what you're going to have in June.
And Evan, last time we talked, we flirted with the idea of Ty Horn moving from starter to bullpen, and then he ended up that move did happening. How have you felt about that move so far, and the change for Ty?
So far, so good. I mean, he had the one hiccup at Kansas last Tuesday when they got to him a little bit. That's a really good hitting Jayhawks lineup. They're close to a top 10 team now. But other than that, I mean, he was in 3 of 4 games that first week. Was a big part of the reason they beat Creighton and had a hand in beating USC twice. And then it was back, in the mix at Illinois too. A big part of why they won that series last weekend. So you never know. Like, he's had some success as a starter, certainly, especially last year. But there's just something about coming out of the bullpen for him that seems to agree with his demeanor and his style, and he can kind of let it loose. Like, you look at his velocity on those fastballs, it's up to like 97, which is higher than you usually see from him as a starter. And like we've said too, it has addressed Nebraska's need to find that bridge in the bullpen, that guy who can give you 3 or 4 quality if necessary from starter to Jayshon Unger on the back end. So, again, it's a move you don't make if you don't feel like you have 3 other quality weekend starters, which Nebraska does feel like it has. And now it's addressed that bullpen need too. So I think it's a positive for what Nebraska wants to do. And really what it's going to be when you get into the key moments of the year is he's going to be kind of the ultimate safety blanket for the starting rotation. So whether it's, if Kasky needs to come out early or Blachowicz or whomever, like, not a lot of teams have a guy like Horn, who's been a Friday guy, who can come in and give you 5 quality to stabilize things in those middle innings. So, he's going to have some high leverage spots, but I think he's also going to have some spots as sort of the ultimate backup if that rotation needs it here down the stretch.
Also to note, you guys both talk about the bats. Only 18 strikeouts for Nebraska hitters on the weekend. That's a stat to watch as you're getting productive ABs at the plate. And again, we're speaking to Evan Bland with the Omaha World Herald. Well, Evan, 33-11. We've got 12 games left. You see a lot of stuff out there where Nebraska is not, they're being, projected to host a regional. What work is left with those 12? If you look at the last 12, obviously you'll probably be looking at plus. Your schedule's plus. Pro Nebraska the rest of the way out. When you look at the weekend series, got K-State Creighton mixing there as well. What needs to be done to maybe when you look at the end of this thing, go, yeah, we're going to host a regional for the first time in a long time?
I think if the season ended right now, I think they would host, because you're talking about a top 16 RPI. You look at last year, only one team that was top 16 RPI didn't host. So the correlation between being in that range and hosting is very high. So now it's about maintaining it the rest of the way. I do think so. Like the schedule, it doesn't grab your attention. Like if you're a national observer, Ohio State, Iowa, Minnesota. But the thing that plays in their favor actually is the fact that they play most of these games on the road. That series at Ohio State, at Minnesota, at Creighton. And we just saw it with Illinois. Like Illinois is not a great RPI team. They're not terrible. But if you win a series on the road against an average team like that, it's going to help your cause. And it did help Nebraska's cause. Now, I think the game, we talk about RPI landmines and like speed bumps you have to avoid. To me, it's the game tomorrow night with Kansas State. I mean, that's a Wildcats team that's fading a bit down the stretch. That I think based on their RPI, that's a quad 3 game because it's at Haymarket Park. So that's a game you really need to take care of if you're Nebraska. But, it's an interesting spot because you're almost out of Big Ten regular season title contention because of what UCLA is doing. They haven't lost a game in the league. So you're really able to lock in on finishing in the top 4 so you can get that bye in the Big Ten tournament, and then just taking care of business and keeping your resume where it is. I think you're not talking about needing to make up a ton of ground at this point. If you win series and, finish 9-3, somewhere in that range, like I think you're going to like what your postseason destination is. It's just, a matter of not letting these moments get too big for you. Not, if you're Nebraska, not looking up and seeing what some of these things that are at stake are for the next little bit, and doing what got you here. And I think that's a trait that this team has shown to this point. And again, kind of like at Illinois, you're going to be playing in some road environments that are pretty, blah. Quite honestly, there's just not a lot of excitement, I think, from some of these teams that they're going to. So can maybe stay self-motivated and, do what they've done, maybe without some of the emotion that's come with these games in the last month or so.
Hey, Evan, also, I know, again, we're talking about record and how you finish and all that. If Nebraska were to finish with 40-plus wins, obviously you're looking at a regional. What other, or are there other factors when the committee will pick a regional host will play into this? Because I know some people are like, well, look at some of the other sites. It might be a Midwest site that might not have this or that. Or is there any of those, whether it be facilities, access, any of that play into a regional conversation as well?
Yeah. I mean, the central stuff is going to be RPI and some of the other kind of adjacent metrics to that. But yes, there are instances where, like, if it comes down to Nebraska and another team in a very close situation, like, you do look a little bit at geography and regionality. And like, there have been years where there have been a ton of hosts in the Southeast or the West Coast. And if you can find a Midwest representative, like, they might get the benefit of the doubt a little bit. And so, interestingly, Nebraska and might be fighting Kansas for that honor this year, because Kansas is right in that mix too. And they may well both earn it if they finish strong enough down the stretch. But I think that's part of it. And, the committee knows that, like, Nebraska is going to draw well. Like, just because you host a regional doesn't necessarily mean huge crowds follow. You see that every year. But what Nebraska showed for USC weekend, what they've shown historically, is like, if they host, that's going to be a positive for college baseball and for the NCAA, and to have crowds of probably 7,000 to 8,000 people on the ESPN platforms, like, that's good for business. That's good for the local gate and people coming into the venue as well. So, yeah, I think some of those things do make a difference. And I don't think you can overstate the importance of sweeping USC as sort of that moment that got a lot of people's attention nationally. And so if Nebraska does not give that back here in the next month or so, I think that's something that's going to stay in people's minds maybe as a tiebreaker.
Hey, Evan, one on football, NFL draft. Emmett Johnson gets picked up, the lone Husker to get drafted, headed to Kansas City. Thoughts on him going there? And then how many thoughts are now as you look at Emmett gets drafted, but there's a lot of conversation talking about the lack of Nebraska players that have been in the draft as a recent history. And the conversation now is it's almost two separate ones now. You got current guys on the roster, whether they be recruited here or the number of players from the portal that have gotten to Nebraska that haven't been drafted that looked like when they got here that they were not locks, but like a Dane Key saying he got here like that's a guy that's going to get drafted, but yet he failed also to get drafted.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Emmett, great situation for him. It hurts me a little bit as a Denver fan to see him go to Kansas City, but I mean, it's a great situation for him. So, like, he was probably a little disappointed initially that he didn't go higher in the draft. I think he was projected to go higher and all the rest. But, I mean, what a situation now where he can join a Chiefs club, learning and backing up Kenneth Walker, who's there now as a free agent signing, and obviously working with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, those guys are going to have him in the best possible position to succeed. He's not going to be asked to do too much, certainly as a rookie. So what a way for him to settle in. And, you know, as Troy Dannon, Nebraska's AD, kind of teased last week, like, it's possible Nebraska in 27 could open its season back at Arrowhead Stadium again. And so for Emmett Johnson to be down there still would be a pretty cool development for, you know, the relationship between those two teams. So great on him, I think, ultimately. And then, yeah, for overall, like, I was in the camp that thought 2 to 3 Huskers would probably get taken, whether that was Deshaun Singleton or Sierra Wright. And, you know, it's a reflection of how the program's been, right? Like, it's hard to win in the Big Ten. The records haven't been there consistently for Nebraska, and it's no coincidence that, you know, the talent in the NFL draft has sort of reflected that status. So I do think those are players that can have productive NFL careers still. Personally, I think Henry Lutovsky might have the best chance of all of them based on what he did at Pro Day, based on just his attitude, his alignment, all these different things. I think he could be in the league for many years. And so for him to sign with Tampa is a cool deal. I'll be watching that one. But yeah, like, there are kind of two ways that fans can evaluate the program from, like, a bottom line standpoint, right? One of them is going to be wins and losses and how do you do in the fall. And I think the other one is how do you develop these guys? Because, you know, the NFL and their scouts and evaluators, they don't care about, like, reputations. They want to find the best players for their teams. And so, you know, Nebraska hasn't had the best players or very many of them for a long time. So it's just another reminder that it's not just about bringing in the talent, but you have to develop it. You have to identify it. You have to put out quality tape for these guys to get the attention that they need to make it to the next level. And that's certainly a challenge that Nebraska is still working on.
You know, one more in the draft. Obviously, when you mentioned that developing talent, how much stock, or did it give you any promise when you look at, again, a lot of maybe people didn't notice, but the 25 through 27 pick, obviously it's been touted out there. Obviously, you saw Scott Frost got a guy, they got a guy drafted at 25, but then you got Jeep Wade, O-lineman got drafted there at 26, and Aldridge out of the defense at 27. Put any promising stock in those type of picks?
Yeah, I mean, that's where, if you're Nebraska, you got to hang your hat on stuff like that. I mean, Jeep Wade, you know, developed that lineman into that pick, and Orich, you know, kind of the same thing. Like, you can be super talented, but if you're not in a scheme that allows you to showcase that or allows you to react instead of being bogged down with X's and O's type stuff, then it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, I mean, it's a testament to their ability to recruit, to develop, to scheme these guys up to put them in the best possible position to take that next step. And that's the challenge now. And, you know, it's not even the challenge of 5 years ago when you had to go into someone's living room and sell them on the school and the academics and the training table. Like, now the money piece is there too. So it does changed the conversation some, but Nebraska just needs more developmental stories. I mean, Emmett Johnson was a good developmental story as a guy who had no real offers out of high school and becomes the Big Ten running back of the year. There just haven't been a ton of those. Sear Wright was a pretty good developmental story, I think, from what he did at USC to where he is now. But instead of 2 or 3, you need like 7 or 8 of those kind of stories every year, and that's something that they need to work toward.
Awesome. Well, great stuff, Evan, man. Thanks for taking the time with us on a Monday. We appreciate your time as always. Take care of yourself. Have a great week.
See you guys. Thanks.
Evan Blamey on My Word Herald, man. Great stuff from him as always. As we go to break, new. That keyword is new. NEW. Text that word at 402-258-2800 for a chance to win $1,000 with Liberty First Credit Union. When we come back, we'll do stories that we missed. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta get these contacts out.
Yeah, it's time, right?
As soon as possible.
Get them out. God, they got be so awesome. Nebraska finishes thing out, and get a host regional. Let's go. You guys have baseball on the weekend?
We were supposed to Saturday night, but weather.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We have no midweek this week. Bennington tournament. Bennington.
Nice. It was good to get him a little break.
Yeah.
We are the kings of one inning going bad and that being the deciding factor of the game.
Isn't that crazy?
It's how it's been, I think, in every loss so far. I think it's been 1 or 2 runs. We haven't really gotten our butts kicked yet. It's just been – it's like a snowball, just keeps piling and piling.
It's like you can't stop it.
Yeah, exactly.
Our second game on Saturday, we forgot how to make like routine plays.
Ugh.
We had a kid on the bump just threw his butt off. 31 pitches. Should have been a 12-pitch inning. 31 pitches, 23 strikes. I mean, like slow rollers. It just was like, you couldn't stop watching the wreck.
That's how it goes. Kid will miss a routine ground ball, routine pop up, then the next kid will hit one in the gap. It's
yep.
That's baseball. It was actually funny. We had our catcher. They hit a foul ball, but our catcher could very easily make the play. Pops out of his glove, and my coach and I both look at each other like, well, you know what's about to happen here. Next one goes right to the fence over the left fielder's head.
Yep. Isn't that crazy? It happens.
Yep.
Cannonball.
That's what made me so superstitious is baseball. Things are going to happen like that.
The stories we miss. The Morning Hookup.
Welcome back in the Morning Hookup. Special thanks to the Evan Blamey on My World Herald. Boy, what a cool golf story. I don't know if you guys watched the Zurich Classic. It is a team event, but it's huge implications for these guys. I don't know if you saw it. The Fitzpatrick brothers yesterday got it done. By the way, Matt Fitzpatrick becomes the first Englishman to win 3 times on the PGA Tour since like the early 1900s. 2 wins plus this, and that's 3 times. He also vaults to the top of the FedEx. That's not the story. His younger brother, Alex, is on the DP World Tour, who just got his first win over there. That win, the combined win of the two of them, got both of them 400 FedEx Cup points. Alex himself, by the way, is now a new member of the PGA Tour. He got the rest of the year. He is exempt to play in all the signature events, which means there's no cuts, there's money. He also gets entrance into the PGA Championship and to the next year players and a 2-year full exemption on the PGA Tour.
Very cool.
How cool is that? And to have your brother, I don't know if you watched, but they were tied going to 18 par 5. Fitzpatrick is the hottest golfer on the planet right now, and he hit this nasty bunker shot to about 14 inches. Incredible. And sends his brother onto the PGA Tour.
Wow. You don't hear a lot of stories like that.
Nope.
Something in my world that wasn't as what do you want to call it? Unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah.
The Red Sox coaching staff, complete overhaul. Alex Cora out, Pete Fatsi, hitting coach out, third base coach out. There were 2 more coaches, a total of 5 coaches, canned after a 10-17 start to the season. Team has not been clicking at all. Team has not produced enough offense. So the ownership decided that it was time to part ways with Cora. There's a lot of conversation about this. Like, who is at fault when you want to talk about?
Yeah, that's the one. I think the question is, does this fix anything? And maybe the person that is not taking any blame is still around.
Craig Breslow.
Yep.
Yeah. It's Craig Breslow, Sam Kennedy, and John Henry, which is the ownership of the Red Sox. It all starts with them. We could be here for 2 hours breaking down all of the lore and drama behind the Red Sox, but basically, to put it in the best words possible, is the Red Sox are not managed like a baseball team. They're managed like a business, like a private equity firm. And the ownership has consistently traded away all of its best players, refused to pay its best players, and the product on the field has showed because of it. And so they decided that instead of taking accountability for that they will have somebody else take the fall for it.
It's amazing. Amazing. Speaking of fall, boy, I know the draft, there's a lot of stories in the draft, but one based on a Heisman finalist that went undrafted for the first time since 2014. It's Pavia.
Yeah.
Pavia. A lot of talk about that now. He has accept an invitation to a Ravens minicamp. 2014, by the way, that was Northern Illinois quarterback Jordan Lynch in 2014.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Pavia is a great college quarterback.
Look, man, you're not that good.
I just don't think he's not an NFL guy.
Nope. I'm a winner, though.
He's electric. He's fun to watch. He talks his talk. Sometimes there's a little showboaty and it gets annoying, but
I'm a winner.
Yeah. Really, I think everybody but him kind of saw this coming, that he wasn't going to get drafted. I think he thinks very highly of himself, and everybody else is kind of like
the number of things coming out, like his next job gifts, are pretty humorous.
Let's see what else is out there.
Wembenyama, by the way, wasn't very happy, I guess, with the NBA concussion protocol out there. He said the Spurs have done an amazing job. I'm very unhappy about the way the protocol has been handled by other parties, but my staff has been amazing. I'm really healthy starting day one after the injury. The injury is weird, though it was funny. I said, I won't get into details. I don't want it to become a distraction again at the end of the season, but all the dogs, especially for the Spurs, have done an all-around great job. But I won't get into details of why he thought the process wasn't very good on the NBA side. Boy, tonight we got drama. I mean, that game tonight, Nuggets, T-Wolves, let's go.
Yeah. We'll see if Denver's got to show something tonight. You gotta. Is it 2-1 or 3-1?
3-1.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the rope here.
Backs against the wall. We know Elijah's. Yep. Well, I don't know if Elijah's going to be watching.
I didn't know that. Do you know the Orioles ran out of fireworks? Because they had too many home runs. Sorry, I better stop tomorrow. Oh, no. Tomorrow, Robin Washit, Brian Munson, both from HuskerOnline.com. We'll talk Nebraska baseball as well. More keywords as well. Guys, have a great start to your week. Great Monday. We'll catch you on a Tuesday.